Welcome, everyone. I call this August 11th, 2026 meeting of council to order at 5:30 p.m. This meeting will be held in a hybrid manner where members of council, staff, and the public can participate electronically. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded and will be available on the township website. Notice is hereby provided that under the authority of the Municipal Act 2001 and in accordance with the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, that all information attained is considered part of the public record. All rules apply to the meeting as if everyone was attending in person, and if there is a problem with the technology impacting the proceeding of the meeting may be recessed. So I would ask everyone that can to rise for the playing of the national anthem. We acknowledge that we are being hosted on ancestral lands of the Haudenosaunee, Mississauga, and Omama people. We acknowledge and welcome the presence of all Indigenous people, including the Métis, Inuit, and other First Nations from across this vast land, who also makes this place home. The lands we're on today are recognized in the Two-Row Wampum, Dish with One Spoon Treaty, Treaty 27, and the Crawford Purchase. Okay, so the first item up is a confirmation of the agenda, moved by Councillor Prodrick, seconded by Councillor Willis. Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof for this evening's meeting? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to go into closed session if someone would like to present that. Councillor Willis.
I would move that council now move into closed session to consider personal matters about an identifiable individual pursuant to section 239 2B of the Municipal Act.
So moved, seconded by Councillor Budrick. All in favor? Motion is passed. Welcome, everyone. We actually started our council meeting at 5:30. We did our opening and then we went into closed session for half an hour. So we're coming back out into open. So we won't be doing the actual opening over again. We'll just be reconvening where we left off. So after being in closed session, I will bring the rise and report forward that council did meet in closed session to consider personal matters about an identifiable individual pursuant to section 239 2B of the Municipal Act. So with that, our first other item is presentations. So we would ask the OPP Detachment Board Annual Report presentation. Please come on forward when you're ready. And you can just sit at one of the mics, press the button so the green light comes on, and you can go ahead and start whenever you're ready. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Hagedorn and members of council. Thank you for having me here this evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jessica Jones, and I serve as the community representative for Loyalist Township and the town of Greater Napanee on the East Lennox and Addington OPP Detachment Board. It's a pleasure to be here on behalf of the board. This is my second time, I think, presenting to this council. And we're just here to present the actual 2025 board report and policing activities, and to provide council with an overview of the work the board's been doing over the last year. I'd like to begin by thanking Loyalist Township for its continued support of the board. Loyalist currently provides administrative support to us through the municipal clerk's office, and that support they receive from Jacob is extremely valuable, and we've worked really hard to establish and develop the new detachment board. So thank you, Jacob. And also, although she's not here, a special thank you to Anne, who was very integral in helping us get our board going, which, as we've been told by other boards, we're quite ahead. So yeah, I have to thank her as well. Just a little bit about the detachment board. So in terms of background, the East Lennox and Addington OPP Detachment Board represents the 4 municipalities served by our OPP detachment: Addington Highlands Township, the town of Greater Napanee, Loyalist Township, and Stone Mills Township. Our role is one of civilian governance and community representation. We work collaboratively with the OPP Detachment Commander to provide guidance and advice regarding policing services and to help ensure that policing priorities and initiatives reflect the needs of the communities we represent. An important part of that role is supporting community safety while also promoting transparency and accountability and helping to maintain a positive relationship between the OPP and the communities that it serves. Under the Community Safety and Policing Act, the OPP detachment boards are also required to provide an annual report to the municipalities that they serve. And the report that we have before council fulfills that requirement and gives us an opportunity to report back both on the work the board does as well as what the OPP does in policing our communities. Everyone should have or council should have a copy of the report. Great. So I'd have you turn to page 3. So our actual board. So our board is made up of 6 members, providing both municipal and community representation across those 4 municipalities. So here in Loyalist, Mayor Hagedorn serves as our council's representative, and I have the privilege of serving as the joint community representative for Loyalist Township and Greater Napanee. Our other members include Councillor Bob Norrie, representing Greater Napanee, Councillor Sherry Milligan, representing Stone Mills, Tina Marie Chamberlain as the community representative for Addington Highlands and Stone Mills, and Tony Fritsch, who's now representing the Addington Highlands Council. Before I continue, I would just like to take a moment to recognize the late Reeve Henry Hogg. He represented Addington Highlands on our board from its formation in June of 2024 until his passing in October of 2025. Henry demonstrated a tremendous commitment to public service and a genuine dedication to his community. His thoughtful contributions, hard work, and commitment to both Addington Highlands and the work of our board were very much valued, and we are extremely grateful for the time, knowledge, and dedication he shared with us. His contributions will be remembered, and he is certainly missed. Tony Frisch has since been appointed to the Addington Highlands Council representative, and we are very pleased to have him on the board as well. Okay, and turning to page 4. Because this is still a relatively new board under the Community Safety and Policing Act, a significant portion of our work has involved establishing the governance structure necessary for the board to operate effectively, which includes a lot of bylaws and policies that are just the foundational work for the board moving forward. That's included developing and adopting our bylaws and policies in areas such as remuneration, misconduct, and conflict of interest, as well as communications and information sharing. And you can see on that page 4, we have listed all of the bylaws and policies that have been established since June of 2024. All 6 board members have also completed prescribed training developed by the Ministry of the Solicitor General. And it covered areas including police governance, policing in Ontario, the roles and responsibilities of the detachment boards, and requirements relating to board appointments, training, codes of conduct, and conflicts of interest. While some of that work is not necessarily the most visible part of what we do, it has been an important part of establishing a strong foundation for the board and ensuring that we can carry out our responsibilities appropriately and effectively. You'll see further down on page 4, we highlight our meetings. Our inaugural meeting was held on November 14th, 2024, and our meeting records are publicly available. We've also made the decision to rotate our meetings amongst the 4 municipalities represented by the board, which we think is very important. Although we operate as one detachment board, we represent 4 distinct municipalities, and each with its own community, geography, priorities, and policing needs. Moving on to page 5 is our board budget. Oh, I apologize. I missed our board support. I think I already acknowledged that we do receive support from the Loyalist Township Municipal Clerk Jacob this time. And we're always extremely grateful for his guidance and assistance and camaraderie. Board budget. Under the Community Safety and Policing Act, those estimates are provided to each of the municipalities receiving policing through the detachment board, along with their respective share of the costs. In July of 2025, the board approved its 2026 budget, which is included as Appendix A to this report. I won't spend too much time on the budget, just given that it's there and available for the council to read. But it is one of our statutory responsibilities is to provide that. Moving forward, we have resources on the page as well. If anyone wants to read more on the Community Safety and Policing Act, the Ontario Provincial Police, or the Inspectorate of Policing, who mandates a lot of what we're responsible for. Overall, 2025 was an important year for East Lennox and Addington OPP Detachment Board. Much of our work has been about establishing the board, putting the necessary governance pieces in place, completing our training and developing the processes and relationships that will allow us to effectively represent our municipalities and communities going forward. And while governance is an important part of our mandate, ultimately our work comes back to community safety and policing. Our role is to ensure that there's a strong connection between the communities we represent and the OPP, providing policing services to them. And that community needs and priorities continue to be a part of those conversations. The second part of the report actually focuses on the policing activities during 2025, including their calls for service, statistics, complaints, and the detachment board action plan moving forward. Those are identified as the primary areas of the policing portion of the annual report, and I believe that should be attached as Appendix B. And of course, that's a little bit lengthier, so I won't go through that. Just to wrap it up, I just want to again thank Mayor Hagedorn and the members of council for the opportunity to be here this evening and provide the update on behalf of the East Lennox and Addington OPP Detachment Board. I'd also like to thank Loyalist Township for the ongoing support of the board, as well as our fellow board members who are not here today, as well as our municipal partners and Detachment Commander Tevel for all of his help and guidance and working with us to accomplish as much as we have. We really do have like a wonderful, wonderful relationship with the OPP, and the synchrony we've had in creating the board and establishing it and accomplishing things has been almost too lucky. So I want to thank them as well. And as we continue to develop, our focus will remain on ensuring that the communities we represent have a meaningful voice in policing priorities, and that we continue to foster a strong collaborative relationship between our municipalities, our residents, and the OPP. So thank you very much, and happy to answer any questions you might have that I'm capable of answering.
Thank you, Jessica. Look to council. Are there any questions or comments? Saying none? Well, that was easy.
Yes.
Thank you so much for bringing it forward.
you.
And we are very fortunate with the residents representatives that we've got on the board. Both Tina and yourself are very engaged, very knowledgeable, and they certainly do represent the residents very well, I believe. So with that, thank you for being here, and I would look for a motion for council to receive. Moved by Councillor Prodrick, seconded by Councillor Willis. All in favor? Motion is passed. Thanks. Okay, so that brings us to open forum. So open forum, there are 15 minutes of the meeting that's been set aside for open forum. Any individual may address council regarding an item on the agenda, excluding matters under the statutory public meeting section, which we didn't have any this evening. Each person has 3 minutes to speak, and we do have 4 that are registered at this time. So we will go through them. And then I will open it up in chambers if someone has something they wish to speak on that's on the agenda. And then I will open it up to the virtual audience as well. And just for the virtual audience, I will be asking when it comes time for you to use the raised hand feature so that you can, we will know that you want to speak, and we will be able to bring you into the meeting. So I will just go through the list of the ones that are signed up to speak. And first, Bill Lowry. Did you want to speak this evening? No? If you could just push the button so the green light comes on. There we are. You're live, so go ahead whenever you're ready.
It was kind of, I don't know if I want to say ironic, but when I got the call to see if I wanted to volunteer to serve in the chair of deputy, it was the same way that I got into politics. My next door neighbor back in, 1999 came to me and said, "Did you ever think about getting into politics?" And I just looked at him and thought he was in space somewhere, but I went home and thought about it, and I was thinking about retiring, and that road was going to come, and I wanted something to do. So because I was appointed, it was only a 2-year term in a 3-year election. The deputy mayor at that time, Arnold Adams, left for health reasons, and his position was filled as chair, was filled from the councillors of the day, which was Clayton McEwen, so that left a hole in council. So it was all an immediate flashback when I got the call from the municipality to see if I wanted to put my name forward. And I just immediately felt that I did. There was no hesitation, it was just, yes, they're asking me to do something and I'd like to do it. So if there's anything on the page that I wrote down in my history, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Council, any questions for the presenter? Seeing none, thank you very much. I'll go on to the next one, John Ivey. If you would like to come up to one of the mics, John, and just push the button so that it's on. And feel free to start whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. As you saw in my application, I was quite brief. I have time, and I believe I have enough background to fill the position. And I was surprised to be remembered from that far back, and would like to thank the person who put my name forward. When I read the minutes yesterday, or the agenda yesterday, I looked at the other candidates, and they're very high-level people. And we were part of a team, and if I'm on, or one of the who advances, it would be as part of a team. If you have any questions, that's it.
Thank you, John. Council, any questions for John? Seeing none? Thank you,
Thank you.
John. The next is Diane Pierce. Thank you. Go ahead whenever you're ready, Diane.
Thank you. Mayor Hagedorn and members of council, good evening. I wish to speak briefly regarding agenda item 1110, the appointment to fill the vacant position of Deputy Mayor for Loyalist Township. Thank you for this opportunity to express my appreciation to council for nominating me as a candidate for the position of Deputy Mayor. It is truly an honor. As you know, my 39-year career in municipal government was on the administration side, not the council side. I never expected to give a campaign speech, so this is the closest I ever have or ever will do so, or ever will come close to doing so. That fact differentiates me from the other nominees whom I respect for their lengthy political service to the township and whom I respect as individuals and former colleagues. They are worthy candidates. Election speeches focus on why one candidate should be selected over another. We, my former nominees and I, my fellow nominees and I, have all served the township in our time and made a meaningful contribution in our own sphere of operation and influence. Now, however, I would ask council to consider the ongoing involvement I have had in township matters since my retirement as a fundraiser, as a witness for the township before the Ontario Land Tribunal, and more extensively as an active member of an advisory committee to council for several years. As deputy mayor, even for this temporary appointment, I would take my role seriously as the position deserves, and I would dedicate my time and talents fully. Once again, thank you, council, for honoring me with this nomination, and thank you for your consideration tonight.
Thank you, Diane. I'll just look to council. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you. Before we go any further, I just want to thank all three of you for being here this evening. I'll say more later, but I've worked so much with all three of you that it's awesome to see you here this evening. And sorry, I'll carry on. Mike Costa, if you would come forward and just remember to turn the mic on, and then please go ahead with what your information.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm here today, this evening, regarding item 11.1, mitigation for Sherwood Avenue bus stop alteration, and the staff report SR 3252, as this directly affects my property. I appreciate the township's efforts to find a practical solution, and I support option 1, which is the proposed 18 meters of fencing, the change to the bylaw to increase the height to 8 feet. I believe that this will address privacy and change sightline issues. However, I have 2 significant concerns with the conditions that you have attached to option 1. First is the financial arrangement. Option 1 requires my family to obtain quotations, arrange, and pay for the work in advance, up to $10,000. This is the year in which I retire. I had no plans to have a family expenditure of up to $10,000 this year. I do not believe that I should be held personally to finance what is the township's responsibility to mitigate. Township created this issue. If option 1 is approved, I would ask that township pay the contractor, whomever that would be, directly or establish another arrangement for payment and not require me to fund this project upfront. My second concern is the proposed release of claims. In the staff report on page 8, the report refers to release by the resident of any future claims. On page 9, it states, any compensation provided to this property owner would require a full release of all claims. My concern is that the staff report does not provide me a copy of the release, what the language is in that release, and what it will state. It also does not identify what rights I would be required to give up as part of the claim. I cannot agree to release claims when I have not been provided with the documentation or the language defining that release. The fence addresses privacy issues, but the report also identifies concerns with drainage, weeds, and grading, which remain unsolved. I'm willing to accept the fence as mitigation for the loss of privacy, but I am not willing to accept the blanket release of all claims arising from this project, particularly when the scope of this project has not been fully understood. It's not yet complete. I also want to preserve my family's position regarding injurious affection under Ontario's Expropriation Act. I am asking council to make, I'm not asking council to make any legal determinations. I am simply asking that that having me accept one mitigation measure to surrender rights to any other issues that may arise from this project is not acceptable. So my request to council is straightforward. One, I ask that option 1 be amended to address these concerns, that I not be required to personally finance the project up front, and that the release of claims will be restricted to issues related to privacy only. I present that to you for your respectful consideration as you make a decision on that item tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any questions for the presenter? Seeing none, thank you
Thank
for
you, sir.
sharing that with us, Mike. We appreciate it. So that's the 4 that signed up for open forum. So I'll put it out in chambers. If there's anyone in chambers here that wishes to speak under the open forum, please come forward and we can receive your information at this time. Seeing none, I go to the virtual audience. If there's anyone in the virtual audience that wishes to speak to council this evening, please use the raised hand feature and we will bring you into the meeting.
There seems to be none.
Thank you. Okay, so that completes open forum. Next up is delegations. David Lizelle, request for variance from bylaw 2002-43. I'll say it one more time. If you could just turn the mic on when you sit down, then you can go ahead and start. Just bringing up some information on the screen for you.
Great. Thank you very much, Mayor Hagedorn and members of council for the opportunity to come and talk to you. My name is David Lazell. My wife is Catherine Wynne Edwards, and we're the owners of the 9600 South Shore Road. That is on Amherst Island, and we're part of the fishing village in Amherst Island. It was created about 100 years ago, as you probably know, to be the Eastern Lake Ontario commercial fishery. Today, there's 8 homes on Amherst Island and in the fishing village. We're one of the 2 that are cottages. 6 of the 8 are actually year-round residences, and that's shown in here. What I want to highlight here is that the township has 2 public right-of-ways through this area. One public right-of-way goes right through the middle of the properties, and it's actually being used today. There's another public right-of-way, this was created a couple of years later, that goes around the properties, as you can show on the line. It's actually not being used right now. And a lot of the issues that we're talking about are about the public right-of-way that goes through the properties. That was started in about 1964, 1965. what we are looking at is we bought 9600 South Shore Road about 20 years ago, and it's been used as a family cottage, and this is in 2006. In 2008, we moved to Calgary. We then moved back again, retired, moved back to Kingston area, and in 2023, we really wanted to invest in the cottage and fix it up. And we've been doing a lot of work, as you can see in the list. I won't take you through all the horrifying details, but nonetheless, one of the projects we really wanted to do was to put in a septic system and get us into the 20th century with, things like flush toilets and running water. And so we had to move the boathouse in order to do that. And I think some of you I've talked to as we went through a bylaw amendment and permit to move the boathouse. We obviously wanted to put electricity in the new boathouse, and we wanted to bring water for use around the workshop boathouse. But we were told not to add that into the amendment request because it was a straightforward, simple process to move power and electricity and water under the road when we needed it. It turns out that that's not the case. So what we're here today to talk about, we've been working for 5 or 6 months now with the township to try to get requests to reconnect the water and electricity to the boathouse, which has now been moved at that considerable expense, I might add. So our request is, in this property, we own the land under the road, and there's a right-of-way, municipal right-of-way of the road. So in our understanding, and talking to our lawyers, that we own the bedrock, and the township owns the road that sits on the bedrock. What we are asking permission to do is to temporarily, for a few hours in one day, remove the road, close the road, remove the gravel on the top of the road, jackhammer into the bedrock, lay down power and water and conduits under the road, then recover it up, and then put the township road back in place, and all's done and good. And of course, this is done all the time in the township as people move water from, say, shore wells across roads, et cetera. So that's what we're asking to be done. Township staff has told us that we must apply for, under the bylaw that's being talked about, a 10-year encroachment permit. And part of the rules in this 10-year encroachment permit and in the bylaw is we must have a plan of survey that's prepared by an Ontario land surveyor. The encroachment permit's only $25 or $35, absolutely fine. The problem is that the land surveyor, to get them out to do this, is about $3,500 to $4,000, which seems crazy. And we were told that this is unusual for everybody's talked to about who've put services on the roads. We also need an excavation permit, which is ability to excavate the road. We have serious concerns about the encroachment permit. Excavation permit, no problem. First of all, the cost of the survey. Second, the really lack of justification for why we need a 10-year encroachment permit when we actually own the land. We're only encroaching on the municipal land for a few hours, right? As we open up the road and then we close it up, put it back again, all's done. The potential that this encroachment permit will be registered on a title, because encroachment permits, long-term encroachment permits like this, are typically registered on titles, and they're going to decrease the value of our property. And then third, the potential that the township is only given a 10-year encroachment permit could actually turn around in 10 years and say, oh, now you got to take the services back out again. Again, that's going to damage the value of the property and our ability to enjoy it. We therefore ask council to consider, we're really asking, we've got a 3-stage consideration because we've never really understood why we're being asked to do this. Our priority 1 request is just basically remove the requirement for the encroachment permit, and we'll still do the excavation permit. And our justification is that the private utilities will be placed and maintained by us within our property lines, within our property under the road, and it's in the bedrock. And certainly there's lots of evidence we have that other recent permits the township has given to move water and electricity across roads on Amherst Island, for example, shore wells, have not required encroachment permits like this with 10-year. Third is, despite numerous requests to the township, and to be honest, I don't think the township staff really understand why. There is just a bylaw that they're following, and they never really saying, why does this exist? It doesn't make sense. If you can't do our request, priority request 1, we ask you then to reduce the encroachment permit request from a 10-year request to a 1-day request. If you go into Ontario property law, there's encroachment permits can be a temporary permit. They say that is under a year. We're only going to disturb public land for under a year, or under a day, under a few hours actually, or for permanent or long-term, and that's more than a year. I would argue that clearly, if there is an encroachment on township's property at all, and I would argue it's not really an encroachment, it's just a disturbance of the property, it would only be for a few hours. Why a 10-year permit and why all this need for adjustments, et cetera? And also assigning a 10-year permit would imply that the township has rights to our land that we own under the road. And I would say the township total rights to the road, not the land under the road. If you can't do number one or number two, this is kind of the third one, is please provide us a rationale for why you require a 10-year permit, and then eliminate the need for the survey. It's an incredibly expensive survey for the little bit we're asking for. We've already spent lots of money moving things and doing other things with the township, and it's been good working with the township and other projects. And second, to do not require the registration of this encroachment, theoretical encroachment on property, because it's going to affect the value of our property. We justify high costs for sure. Most long-term permits are for existing structures. You know, somebody's got a building on public land and you have to have a long-term encroachment. This is a temporary disturb, very different from most encroachments that the township must have with other landowners. And the township has already said that the actual location, they're not actually not going to use the permit. If we went and did a survey, they're not actually going to use that survey because they're going to come out and do their own where the actual lines are going to be put. And the survey, which is only a theoretical survey, where we're talking about putting them, not where they're actually going to be putting it. To be honest, it doesn't make sense, the whole thing. And registration of this putative encroachment on our property would actually reduce the value of our property. And we think that's not reasonable in what we're asking for. So we have actually proposed 3 motions. We'd say, if you accept 1, great, we're done and gone. If you really want to go to 2, okay. If you really want to go to 3, please, these are the essentially staged motions that we would propose. But I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm sure Catherine would be as well.
Thank you. Council, any questions on this presentation? Seeing none. Thank you for being here and
Thank you.
presenting. Typically what we do is we'll receive the information, and if there's any action, a lot of times the action that when something is presented like this is we ask for a staff report to come back as well. That way we're looking at everything in a full picture. But that's a decision of council, how they want to make the motion this evening. I just wanted to explain it so that if it did come back that way, you understood what the process was and why we do it that way. So with that, I would look at council. Councillor Willis.
Thank you, through your worship. I would move that the delegation from the property owners of 9600 South Shore Road, Loyalist Township, dated August 11th, 2026, be received, and that staff be directed to bring back a report to council explaining the details of the situation so that we can make a well-informed decision on it.
Okay. Thank you. So moved. Seconded by Councillor Budrick. Any comments from the mover?
I'm very aware of the fishing village and the history of it, and it's not straightforward. So I just want to make sure that we fully understand it, and being that we're in the process of reviewing our zoning bylaws, that there may be some room to move there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Seconder, other members? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Thank you for bringing it forward. And with anyone who did present this evening, you're more than welcome to stay for the whole meeting. We also realize that it's not for everyone. So you're free to, you can leave if you wish. We just ask, we're just going to carry on with the meeting, and feel free to do whatever you wish. Next item up, mitigation of Sherwood Avenue bus stop alteration. Welcome. Did you have anything additional to share this evening or just here to answer questions?
Nothing further, just for questions.
You. So normally I'd like to put a motion on the floor first, but are there any questions for clarification at this point before we entertain a motion from council? Councillor Broderick.
I'm just, the question I have, and again, I don't know if this is head of the horse, to put it easy, but the applicant has made some very good points. And the concern, I think the concern I would look at is it policy of the township to ask people to pay things up front? Is there some kind of what's the word I want? Some kind of benefit from the township doing the work in terms of they have suppliers, et cetera, et cetera. I'm concerned about the wording of the recommendation in the sense that it's asking for a blanket release, I believe were Mr. Costa's words, and with drainage and other things, I can understand a release from future work on the fence. That's totally legit. I guess progress has unintended consequences, and this may be one of them. It's nobody's fault, but it happens. And I think we need to make it right as a township because I've been there, I've talked to Mr. Costa a couple times, and there's nothing unreasonable from my point of view that has been made here. Just leave it at that.
Are there any answers to that? There was procurement and then a couple of.
I can speak to that. That was not necessarily a public works portion of the staff report, was put in from a risk management perspective. This is actually a claim that would usually go through insurance in terms of a claim for damages to their property. And that process in writing the response to how we mitigate this, essentially we're bypassing that process for, getting it claimed in terms of what gets paid here. I think council wanted to know how this gets mitigated, and you asked about the township doing the work. Is we don't want to do work on private property ever, and there will be mitigating circumstances and other things that come with erecting this fence. So we want to agree to what the work's done, and we'll pay for a certain amount. We can pay the contractor directly, certainly, but if the bill is $10,500, we're still only, our recommendation is to pay $10,000. So it wouldn't be the township going on private property and doing, the private property work, usually in this case. And the ask for the release is, as I said, this is normally would be going through a claim process if we can't sort of work out the issues are in terms of whether the property owner continues to think that there's a claim for damages because of drainage or anything else with respect to this project. It should really be going through insurance. And thus, that's why the release was for once the project's done and any mitigation that staff can do to mitigate any sort of drainage concerns, or once the final grading is done and whatnot. I know there's issue with weeds and things like that, but those claims, the request is that would all be done, and then we'd know what the total claim would be for this project, and it should all be done in one fell swoop. That's the recommendation from staff, is that it would be dealt with altogether, and the release would be for any other damages resulting from this construction project.
Councilor Broderick?
Just for clarification, so this is an insurance issue? Is that what you're saying in a short version?
The property owner is requesting a claim essentially for damages to their property from the township. Lack of privacy for damages. So when claims are made, usually they go through the insurance project, the process in terms of what is paid or not paid. In this sense, council and staff have agreed there is an impact. But usually it doesn't just go through it. We've often asked for it to go through insurance for these kinds of claims from constructions. If there's damages to a property because of drainage or loss of privacy, that would usually go through the claims process.
Okay. Other members? Councilor Willis?
Is there a reason why we can't just deal with the fence and release any further issues with the privacy without lumping in the weeds or the drainage or the grading and I just, because sometimes drainage issues take some time and I can understand the concern. If we did the fence right now, if there was a future drainage issue, would we send that to our insurance company?
Certainly depends on what the claim is, and it would be evaluated in terms of our, negligence or our liability in that case. I think in this case, I'm not sure that we would be held negligent with respect to the damages for a privacy issue, but certainly we can do the release however council directs, and if you wish it just to be for the fence, that can be done.
Any other questions for clarification? Seeing none, we can move on to a motion. We do have the report before us. There is a recommendation with a blank for council to fill in. Look to council for a motion to be put on the floor. Councillor Broderick. Yep.
Thank you. I would recommend that the report from Public Works Division dated August 11th, 2026, remitigation for Sherwood Avenue bus stop alteration be received, and that council authorize an exemption to section 3C of the fence and enclosure bylaw 2026-27 to allow for the installation of approximately 18 meters, 59 feet of a 2.4 meter, 8-foot high fence at property 1104, 010, 040, 02600 from the back corner to the garage of the corner of the shed, and the council authorized staff to offer option 1 to the owner of the property to mitigate the effects of the lost privacy and release the township from any claims against the fencing.
So moved, seconded by Councillor Broderick. Did you have a question before we carry on?
Yes.
Okay.
Just asking the mover, did you intend to have the homeowner pay up front or for the township to pay the contractor directly?
I could add words to the effect of have the township pay the contractor directly to that.
That is an amendment?
Yeah.
Is that amendment acceptable to the seconder? Yes.
A quick question, is that to the amount of 10,000 or is that to the full amount of the project?
Up to 10,000.
Okay.
That was
Around
worded.
that, yeah.
It's acceptable by the seconder. That'll be added to the motion. Is that clear with the clerk's department? Thank you. Okay, so mover, any comments?
Again, I would just say that Mr. Koss has come to council, and I think this might be the second, maybe the third time, and presented his case. And I would say, like I said before, there are unintended consequences of things, and this is a prime example, and I think it's only best that we mitigate his situation.
Seconder?
I live very close to this project, and I've seen the changes to the property owner in this case, and how it's affected not only them but other people in the area, and I feel for them, and I'm glad we're trying to do something for them.
Other members of council? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Thank you. Naming rights of the W.J. Henderson Community Center.
Change chairs.
Yeah, you're not getting away so quick.
Is that chair no good?
Was there any additional information with this item?
No, it's just a minor amendment just to get council approval.
You. Council, we do have a recommendation. Would someone like to please make a motion? Councillor Willis.
I move that the report from the Chief Administrative Officer dated August 11th, 2026, renaming rights at the W.J. Henderson Community Center be received, and that council approve an amendment to the existing gift agreement with naming rights between Loyalist Township and Handy Ferries to change the approved naming rights location from the aquatic office to the customer service desk as outlined in the report.
So moved. Seconded by Counselor Berger. Comments from the mover?
No.
Seconder? Other members? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Next up is a provincial request to make permanent the current doubling of Provincial Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund. Welcome, Director. Did you have anything additional to share this evening?
Nothing really, Mr. Mayor, just that I think we can definitely use the doubling of the funding, so I think supporting it would be a good idea.
Perfect. And the Clerk's Department has put the motion on the screen. So if someone does wish to move this, we can just refer to as presented on the screen. Counselor Boudry.
I'd love to move that as presented, sir.
So moved, seconded by Counselor Willis. Comments from the mover, seconder, other members? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Next is the 2026 borrowing delegation of authority bylaw. Anything to add?
Mr. Mayor, just for clarification, so basically the bylaw that's before council tonight is basically in case we end up in a lame duck council situation before the September 8th council meeting. Our initial hope was working with Infrastructure Ontario, we would have the actual borrowing bylaw to council tonight, but unfortunately that didn't happen. So the September 8th meeting is after the date where we could potentially be in lame duck. And Infrastructure Ontario has asked us to approve this delegation bylaw. Basically, council is authorizing yourselves to approve this next meeting if you end up in lame duck. So that's basically what you're approving tonight. And then the next meeting, we will have the actual borrowing bylaw with the finalized rates to the meeting.
Thank you for drawing that roadmap for me. Okay. And Counselor Broderick.
I would move that the report from the Finance Division dated August 11th, 2026, 2026 borrowing delegation bylaw be received, that council approves bylaw 2026-45, a bylaw to designate authority to the outgoing council to pass bylaws to authorize the issue of debentures for capital works of Loyalist Township, and that council authorizes the mayor, CAO, clerk, and treasurer to execute all necessary documentation to secure the financing.
So moved. Seconded by Counselor Willis. Any comments from the mover? Seconder? Other members? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Thank you. Brooklyn Fine Homes. Plan of condominium exemption application, Lakeshore Gardens, Phase 3 and 4. Welcome. Did you have anything to add this evening?
Through the mayor, no, just here for questions. Thank you.
Council, we have the report before us. If there's no questions for clarification, I would take a motion. And do we have this to put up on the screen? There we go. Okay. So we can just refer to as presented on the screen instead of reading it all. So Counselor Willis.
I will move it as presented on the screen.
So moved, seconded by Counselor Boudry. Anything from the mover? Seconder, other members? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Budget approval for the Odessa Main Street reconstruction in 2027. Welcome. Did you have anything additional to share this evening?
Nothing further, Your Worship, just here to answer questions.
Very good. Council, we have a recommendation if there's no questions for clarification. Councilor Willis, did you have your hand up?
I'll move it.
So moved. Do you want to just read it out for the record?
Move that the report from the Engineering and Environment Division dated August 11th, 2026, re-budget approval for Odessa Main Street reconstruction in 2027 be received, and that council approve the $2.5 million budget with funding sources as identified in the report for the next phase of the Odessa Main Street reconstruction to occur in 2027.
So moved. Seconded by Counselor Prodrick. Comments from the mover? No. Seconder? Other members? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Bath Street and Windermere intersection MTO connecting link funding agreement. Anything additional on this one?
Nothing further.
Again, we have a recommendation. Counselor Boudreaux.
Recommend that the report from Engineering Environment Division dated August 11th, 2026, RE Bath Main Street and Windermere intersection MTO connecting link funding agreement be received, and that council authorize the mayor and CEO to enter an agreement with the final terms and conditions satisfactory to staff and legal counsel.
So moved. Seconded by Counselor Prodrick. Comments from the mover? Seconder?
None
Other
today.
members? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Thank you. Updated agreement for the construction and maintenance of county roads and bridges. Welcome back.
Welcome.
Anything additional to share this evening?
Nothing additional, just here for questions.
Here for questions? Because this is an agreement with the county and that, if there are questions for clarification, I would entertain them before we put a motion on the floor, if you wish. And seeing none, I'd entertain a motion. Counselor Willis.
I move that the report from the Public Works Division dated August 11th, 2026, re-updated agreement for the construction and maintenance of county roads and bridges be received, and that council endorse the new agreement and authorize the mayor and CAO to execute an agreement with the county of Lennox and Addington for the routine maintenance of the county road system.
So moved. Do I have a seconder? Counselor Prodrick. Mover, any comments?
Only that I have a feeling there was a lot of work that went into putting this together, so thank you very much for that.
Seconder?
None.
Other mover? And I would like to just speak to that too. Being on county council and getting the minutes of all the TAC meetings and the different discussions that have gone on, there was a pile of work that went into this. And it's quite a feat to be able to bring the county, 4 municipalities, and get people on the same page. So everyone, there's quite a difference in the road systems across them, and yet come up with an agreement for the system is great. So thank you so much for all the staff that were involved. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Parking bylaw amendments. Is there anything additional to share on this one?
No, we're just here for questions.
Very good. I think it's fairly straightforward, so I'll just look for a motion unless there is a question. Counselor Prodrick.
I would move that the report from the Public Works Division dated August 11th, 2026, re-parking bylaw amendment be received, and that council approve the proposed amendments and enact parking bylaw 2026-28.
So moved. Seconded by Counselor Boudreaux. Comments from the mover? None. Seconder? Others? Counselor Willis. Sure.
The permits that are going to be given to the residents on Park Street, will their make and model of vehicle or license plate be written on that permit? I'm just thinking an entrepreneurial person might sell that permit to somebody who needs it to park during the day while they're working. So will we have a control for that? And what's the plan for enforcement of the parking?
The intention would be to link those permits to a license plate, and don't necessarily think they'll be written right on the tag, but they will have some sort of identifying number, and that will be linked back to the license plate.
Yes.
And the plan for enforcement?
Bylaws in line, they know what's coming.
For a seconder, everyone spoke to it? Okay, get caught back up myself. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Thank you. Now the appointment to fill deputy mayor vacancy. And the clerk's department is coming forward. Please proceed whenever you're ready.
I'd like to give a brief overview of the process that will take place as council moves ahead to fill the appointment for the deputy mayor position for the remainder of the 2022 to 2026 council term. The report attached to the agenda provides a comprehensive overview of the background of the vacancy, the legislative requirements set out by the Municipal Act that relate to the vacancy, and the direction given by council during the June 23rd council meeting as to how the vacancy will be filled. In short, council directed staff to reach out to select individuals who formerly served as members of council or as the township's CAO. Of the names provided, 3 confirmed that they would be willing to fill the role and are eligible to do so. Tonight, council will have the opportunity to nominate one of those 3 candidates to fill the deputy mayor role through resolution, which will be voted on as a regular motion. Should the motion fail, council will have the opportunity to continue nominating candidates until a nomination passes. Following the successful motion to appoint a candidate, the candidate will swear and sign the declaration of office prior to taking their seat as the deputy mayor for the remainder of the meeting. With that, I'm happy to answer any further questions you might have on the process.
Thank you. Council, are there any questions before we proceed? Being none? We do have a recommendation. Just before we go to to making a motion, I'd like to just go a little bit out of order and thank all 3 candidates for allowing your name to stand. As I started to mention before, I've worked with all 3 of you. Bill, my first mayor, and mentored me more than I thought you did at the time, and left an impression. And so I'm grateful that you let your name stand. And John, as I mentioned before, I sat beside you down here for 2 terms. And I think it was the second meeting where you started mentoring me and helped me along, got me, basically gave me my confidence to be able to do the job. And it was amazing. And I really appreciate it. And the one thing your wife said to my wife when I started was, learn to do things without them, get a hobby and go on your own vacations because you won't see them anymore. Well, this month, I think I've seen her 1 weekend. So she listened to Pat very well. And Diane, CAO, I started working with you in 2000, I think it was, when I went on the police services board, and then throughout being on council while you're here. Great leadership, great knowledge, and a great understanding of all processes as well. So I just wanted to thank all 3 of you. The quality and qualifications of the people sitting here is amazing. It's outstanding that a municipality has the brain trust, the experience, and the willingness to step up and help when the time is needed. And the township is very blessed to have all 3 of you here this evening. So unfortunately, only one is going to be successful, but I think all of you in your comments made it very clear that you're looking at this in a very mature way and knowing that one is successful. And but I wanted to thank all of you in advance for taking the time to actually let your name stand. So with that, it's time for a resolution, right? Okay, it's on the screen here. So I would open it up for a motion, and there's 3 blanks in the recommendation that would all be for the person that becomes deputy mayor, because those are the positions that the past deputy mayor held, and you're just filling in for the rest of the term for all of what Nathan used to do. So with that, I would look for a motion. Councillor Proderick.
You want me to read all 4? Or is the first 2 good enough?
All four.
Okay. I would move the report from the Clerk's Division dated August 11th, 2026, sorry. Reappointment to Deputy Mayor vacancy be received, that council appoint Diane Pierce to the office of Deputy Mayor for the remainder of the term 22 to 2026. Council of the Corporation of Loyalist Township. The council, three, that the council appoint Diane Pierce to the Emergency Planning Committee for the remainder of the term 2022 to 2026 Council of the Corporation of Loyalist Township, and that council appoint Diane Pierce to the Quinte Conservation Authority for the remainder of the term 22-26 Council of Corporation of Loyalist Township.
So moved. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Willis. Any comments from the mover?
I think you nailed it. We have three very good candidates, and there is still going to be some council seats available, but I know that you people have moved on to better things in life. But I do sincerely want to thank everybody. This is one of the toughest decisions for me in the 3 years and a bit, but you've all added to the township in your own special ways. And as the mayor said, your willingness to step forward is greatly appreciated.
Seconder?
I think it's appropriate, since we lost a politician to a staff role, that we now invite a former staff person to the dark side. So it's poetic.
Thank you. Other members? This is a tough one, but with all three very qualified, I basically had to come to the conclusion that whatever motion went on the floor, because you're also qualified, I have no reason to say no to whatever motion it is. So thank you for being here. So with that, I will call back to the mover.
I would just like to remind the lucky person, I guess, that the council meetings are not usually this quick and easy. So leave it at that.
Thank you. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is passed. And so we will move to, we're going to have a document for you to read and sign, and
I think I'm in a state of shock here, but okay. Here we go. I, Diane Pierce, having been elected to the office of Deputy Mayor in the municipality of Loyalist Township, do solemnly promise and declare that I will truly, faithfully, and impartially exercise this office to the best of my knowledge and ability. I have not received and will not receive any payment or reward or promise thereof for the exercise of this office on a biased, corrupt, or in any other improper manner. I will disclose any pecuniary interest, direct or indirect, in accordance with the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles III. And I make this solemn promise and declaration, conscientiously believing it to be true and knowing that it is of the same force and effect as if made under oath.
my mic on. I always tell everybody else to turn their mic on. Congratulations. And as was mentioned before, welcome to the dark side. You're on this side of the bench instead of the other. And we welcome you to council.
I never expected this to happen, and I feel truly honored and just thank you so much. I will do the best job I possibly can.
Thank you. Okay, so there is no committee of a whole this evening. So the next item is notice of motion. Are there any notices of motion this evening? Seeing none, are there any direct motions this evening? Seeing none. Consent agenda. It has 3 items that can all be moved together for the necessary action, or any item can be extracted. Are there any items you wish to extract this evening? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion for all of them. Councillor Broderick.
I would move that all the items in the consent agenda dated August 11th, 2026 be approved as presented and that the necessary action be taken.
So moved. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Pierce. Boy, you're getting right to work, man.
Yeah.
You caught me off guard. Any comments from the mover? Seconder? Other members? Call the question. All in favor? Motion is passed. Announcements. Are there any announcements this evening? Councillor Willis.
Just that on the weekend, we had the privilege of attending the dedication of the new Bar Homes Aquatic Center and recognizing Bar Homes, Latham Pools, the Savage family, and Cunningham Swan for their contributions to what is a beautiful facility. And I'm hearing such good feedback in the community already. So very grateful to have that project completed.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Councillor Broderick.
I would ditto all that, but on behalf of a family in Amherst, I want to thank the Community Grant Fund. They received a donation from the mayor's discretionary fund, and the purpose was to go to the World Wrestling Championships. One of the people, a resident of Amherstview and Loyalist, was competing in Kazakhstan, I think it was called, and they appreciate that. And I had a chance to go to the island for the rock and roll show or whatever it was last. Rock the Pavilion. Well attended, like really well attended, and it was a great time.
Thank you. Any other announcements? I'm just going to congratulate the Agricultural Society, Odessa Agricultural Society, on a very successful fair. It's great to have all the community events for all of the residents and outside the township to come in to enjoy what we have here. And the fair was another one. And I just am very pleased that the township still has 2 agricultural societies now, as well as a fair within the township. So well done. So with that, I would entertain a motion for the confirmatory bylaw. No. I have a mover. Councillor Willis.
Move that bylaw 2026-46 to confirm the proceedings of Council of Loyalist Township be enacted and passed, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign and seal.
So moved, seconded by Councillor Broderick. All in favor? Motion is passed. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Do I have a mover?
So moved.
Councillor Broderick, or sorry, Councillor Budrick, seconded by Councillor Willis. All in favor? Motion is passed. We are adjourned at 7:10.